what we're going to do today is look at 2023 creatively in a bullet journal. I want to show you how to create a really beautiful spread of bullet journal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple of things to show you as you get settled in. So what I want you to do is pop into the comments and say hi. I'm going to make sure that you can find me okay and all of that. And then as we get started, what I want you to do is talk to me in the comments. Are you one of those people who waits until January 1st turns around and then you say, boy, I need to do something, probably, but I'm not sure what, because my year is going to just disappear on me if I don't do something? Or are you the sort of gal that wants to have it all together, wants to organize something? What does that look like for you? If you want to kind of get an idea, an inside scoop on how I set things up and get started on things, then you can see how I do some of these. And let me grab one more as an example. I've been doing this for years. I've been filling bullet journals. I use a company called Loop Scherm. There it is. Loop Scherm, 1970. It's a German brand. And so these things have a really a fun way to help you get settled in with these little dots. So it's a dot grid, and I'll see if I can actually get you close enough to that to see. Can you see that? These little dot grids, what they do is it means that you can actually line up what you're doing with ease. Like this is looking fabulous, but you can barely tell when you're just glancing at it. But it makes a real difference in terms of being able to line things up. I've been doing this for years now, and you can see I use these, I engage with every bit of them. But it's actually not something that you may necessarily need as you go on and you get more time with what you're doing. You can make some really fun spreads and start out your month with something, or you can just keep it real simple, which is what I decided to do last year. I was feeling the pressure. I had a lot on my plate, and so what I did is I decided to start keeping track of things rather than with something so fun and beautiful at the beginning, which is good. I literally started doing this right here. I just put it at the beginning of the month and cracked right on with it. And I'm going to do that this year because I'm a little short on time. My capacity is limited. I want to put my energy somewhere else, and that's okay. So depending on whether you want to do something super fancy like this, where you've got like a nice page to get started, and then you can do like a month here. There's things that you can do to kind of get yourself going. And there is some really fun options there, but ultimately it really depends on if you want to go all in and make it a really creative thing. I know we've got some of you in the community who actually do some really great layouts, and you add all kinds of stuff in there. If you are familiar with Heart to Freedom, you'll know that I've got a course called Spiritual Life Journaling 101, and I kind of teach you how to take this stuff here and your normal calendar and merge it with your Bible reading and your spiritual life and your practical life, and so that everything is together. Because oftentimes we compartmentalize and we keep, like, Jesus in the Sunday box over here, and we keep you know, feeding the family at this time of day, and we keep this over here for when we do this and that, and it's all in these different places. But ultimately, the best thing that we can do is to kind of realize that it's all much more fluid than that, and invite God into the whole process and let him be part of your calendar. And so that course goes into a lot of detail. But once a year, I've got to start a new calendar, and I could just buy one from somebody. That would be faster too. But where would be the fun in that? It's just not fun enough. So I went to, this year, I decided to go to 123calendars.com. Just go somewhere where they've got something and that you can plan out with, and grab yourself a calendar for the year, a year calendar. So what I do is I go into Google and I say, whatever the year is, calendar, and I hit enter. That's all I do. So I said 2023 calendar, and then I switch the gears. I move from the results. At the top, there's a tab that says images, and I select images, and then that gives me lots of different images that show me people who are using who have created like a PDF for the entire year. So then I create this whole thing here, which helps me to see this. So I didn't actually create this actually. What I meant to say is I print this. So I print out someone else's calendar. This example is from 123calendars.com. You basically put in the year that you want, and that you want it for the whole year. And then this gives you your, like, this is the thing that you're going to base everything on, because you want to be able to fill in your calendar, and you need to know how many weeks there are and how many days across there are, and you know what's going on with that. But there's a few other things, so I wanted to kind of keep it a little bit big picture and then do a little bit of it in the journal too. So when I've got my calendar here, then the next thing I need to plan, I need to look at the holidays that might impact my year so that I know about those. So what I did is I went on to get these. So let's see here. I'll pop that over there. So we've got our year calendar. And then I personally, because I love all of you all, I look at 3 different, this is the largest category of all of you is in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. And then beyond there, there are a lot of you in other countries as well. But this is where the bulk of you are. So for me, I put the calendar holidays for all of these in. And that way, I'm aware of every single holiday that might be observed by people that have something to do with me. Now, for my own personal decision making, then that means that when I'm doing something like this, I'm not holding it on the Canadian Thanksgiving or the American Thanksgiving or on Christmas Day or Boxing Day or something like that. I'm always aware of what's going on. So depending on your circumstances, you might only need one of these. But again, what I would do is go online to Google and say like US holidays 2023 list. So literally that, USA holidays 2023 list. And you will get the public holidays listed right there, but you can actually click on what typically comes up for me as one of the first options right there under all Google listings is something called timeanddate.com. And timeanddate.com takes you over to a calendar, and it's listing the USA in 2023, but you can switch the settings from all holidays to official holidays. So I only look at official holidays because I don't need 300 holidays to look at. Nobody needs that. I just look at the ones that are going to be important for me, like Memorial Day or Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, and those types of things. So when I get that, then I take a screenshot of that, or I write those things down, and then that gives me some dates here that I'm going to put onto my calendar as well. So what I have now is the full year, so I know what day everything falls on for each one. And just as a, like life hack, when you're done printing one of these off, go back to the results and look at someone else's version of it and make sure that it is exactly the same as someone else's results, just in case you happen to get your calendar from somebody who made a mistake, because you don't want to make the mistake just because they made it. And once you've got that done and you have your holidays all sorted out, so you know which official holidays you need to observe. This is literally a screenshot from Time and Date, and there's the official holidays that I've put on there and the year, and then it gave me this list here. So I now know when all of these are, and I can put these in. So this is me getting ready for planning mode, and I have to do this preliminary work because I've got to be able to know exactly what's going to happen with every portion of my planning, so then I can just dive in and have some fun creating. And so the last thing that I do is I try and pick some sort of theme. So in this particular one with 2021, I tend to do a little bit of some greenery with berries, and I did something like that, and I picked a sort of color palette. You can pick a color palette for the entire year, or you can pick a color palette for each month and have it completely different. I've done it different years, and I always have some sort of annual overview, but I actually didn't have it this last year. I couldn't do it. I just didn't have capacity for anything because I was in and out of the hospital, and there were other more important things, but it's okay. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm just leaving myself a page for this. I'm going to come back to this. And then, there are things that you can do. You can create little things here, like this is some washi tape. I've cut one of the pages out of the back of this and put it right here and turn it into a tab. So I've got some extra space here where I can write some private notes if I need to, and that sort of thing. But what I've got is my calendar for the year. I've got the holidays for the year, and I have a couple of tools that I'm going to need. So I need a mechanical pencil. I prefer a mechanical pencil because it keeps a nice sharp tip the whole time I'm doing everything. And then a eraser, which is really helpful. So I get those two things. This pencil is not great, so hopefully it will hold up on me while I'm doing this project. And I get myself a ruler. For me, a T-square ruler is the best. It's got this angle here because it means that I can line this up on the end, and I know that I'm getting a straight line throughout my project. And I just have to be careful that the pages don't kind of move it, and I get it straight up against the edge that I'm working on here. And that will kind of make everything feel a little more square. You can just freehand it, which I've done before, but this is one way that you can do things. And I do apologize if everything sounds a little bit different in here. I'm still, I need to get some rugs down in my studio, and the lighting, you can see a lot of shadows. I think I'm just keeping it real here. I'm still getting set up in my studio here, and the noise is different here. The everything is different, but I wanted to come and share this with you. So what you want to do is you've got these things that you need. You have a mechanical pencil and an eraser and a ruler. And of course you need a book. So I'm trying out this one. This is actually from Paper Chase from the UK. They have this brand, and it's their own brand, and it's very similar, but it doesn't come with any page numbers and it doesn't have dots on it. But I thought I'd give it a try because I've been doing this for so many years. I figured I don't need the dots as much as maybe the next person might, because it, if you think you're above the dots, try me the first year I did this. I thought I was above dots. I was not above dots. It really helps having a dot grid. I would definitely use it if it's your first time doing this. Then what you can do is when you get going in here, you can have your Bible reading plan and all sorts of things in here. But what I am finding over the years is that the very best thing that I can do is to actually just start with my calendar right at the beginning of the year, right at the front, and then I've got all of this space to do whatever I want for the rest of the time. So rather than just sticking myself with the calendar being intermixed and preempting how many days I might need paper for each part of the calendar, then I can put the whole calendar in all at once and have it ready for the year. And so I typically start in October, and I do it when I want an evening off, or maybe I'm watching a movie or something like that and I just want to sit, then I'll do this. So let me show you. But over the years I've gotten faster and faster at it, and it is pretty easy to do. So what we need to do is outline our months. So I'm going to set this aside here, and in here, it's what you want to do is you pop it open, leave your page here that's connected, turn it. I'm leaving one extra page so that I can maybe put an inspirational quote here or something interesting that I want to start with. And then this is the start. I'm putting 23 with an apostrophe, and that's going to start my page here. So this is me getting going on that, and this will look basically identical but for the right thing. So what I've done is I've got just a little bit of space here, and each square inside the dot grid gets the number, and I just put the letter for each one of these, and I put in what I've got here, 7 days across with the numbers, and then when it's done I went over it with a pen in a light color, which is like a light gray, and then initialed these all the way January, Feb, March, April, and so forth. So I'm going to do something very similar right here on my second page, and then I'm going straight in to January. So this is me in January. So what I started with is first a blank page, then what I did is I start lining up where everything's going to land. I figure out where my first number is, where everything is going to land, and then as I get started, then I go in and I do the full grid of exactly what this says. So this is for February. Then I've got my Wednesday through Saturday, and then I've got 1, 2, 3 full weeks. And then here it says that I've got 3 days in, so that's to Tuesday. So I get that all locked in, and when I'm done, then I go in with color. And these are the colors that I'm going to use for right now. So this light one, I'm not sure how much use I'm going to get out of it, but I'm going to set it aside for myself. So I'm going for a cobalt blue from Faber-Castell, but you can use really cheap these ones here, Crayola Super Tips. These ones work great, but they aren't waterproof. So I tend to prefer the Faber-Castells because it's not going to go anywhere if you put something on it. Like I put a cup of tea right here, and I've got a ring from my Crayola Super Tips letting go of it and making it reactivate. So it depends on what you want. So right here, as I start in on January, I've got this in here, and then I've got a step further to go where I need to put in the numbers for every single one of these. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can go in with a tiny number in the corner of each one of the days, or you can use something that is a little bit more pale and do it over the entire box and let it be kind of dramatic, and then you actually put your stuff over the top, but you won't be able to see it once that stuff's over the top. It may kind of just show up a little bit through everything. So it's something to keep in mind is, do you want to see the numbers clearly in the corner or not? And so how do you know how to make these boxes? Well, I've been cheating for years because I made my first one And then what I do is I just line this up and I can see, okay, so here's what I've got here. And so I know roughly what I'm doing. So that's what you can do. But what I will show you on here is when you have one of these out, what I tend to do is use the centimeters on here instead. And I flip it this direction right to the edge. I like to go a little bit further in because I just think it's nicer. I've also tried just doing boxes that are free floating, but I haven't got capacity for that this time. So I'm just keeping it super simple. And I've got all these boxes. I wanted to make them as tall as I could and leave a little bit of space here. I always inevitably want a little bit of space for a few extra notes. So I've put those in there. And what I do is, let's just go to March, which I'm in the middle of here. I start by establishing my lines here. So when I look at March, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heights that I need to work with. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you look at this with this right where it is, you can see that this one is just under 4, just under 7, 10, 13 and a half, 17. There's just a bit of space, and they should be relatively similar, but I just want to prove to you that these are not perfect. They're all just slightly off. So this is just under 4. If I move this down, this is slightly under 4, and this one is 3.5 or less, and this one is 3.5, and this one is almost 4. Don't be perfect about this. Just do the job, right? So get yourself the same amount of columns as you need. So that means that you need to start up here and work your way through. Excuse me. So how do we do that? Well, this is how. Right here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows that I need to make for. So I'm going to say with my ruler here that I want it to be about that tall, right? And I want it to finish here. So I have 17 centimeters. So I'm just going to say 17 centimeters. So if you've got a grid block, then you're just going to be looking at the amount of dots that you want to do. So same thing, how many heights? Stick with the where the dots actually line up wherever you're doing this, so that it'll be easier for you to draw on a line. So if I've got 17 centimeters, I'm going to divide it by the 6 high, and that equals 2.8, which makes no sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why. It's because I did my math wrong. 17 divided by 5, 3.4. So when we do that, we want it to be somewhere just under 3.5 centimeters. And so this is how I do this. I just divide the total by the amount high that I need. But then once I've established this, because this is for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4, and then there's 5 here. But just have a look here throughout the entire year, because when you get to December, see there's 2 here, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So now we've got 5 high, and here's a 6th showing up, and the same in July. So July and December and April are all going to need an extra bit of space. And if I completely throw this off, I will have a problem once I get to that month, because I won't be able to fit it in. But as this is just a Saturday, I tend to just go with it and make a little bit of extra space here. But what you want to do is think about 6 high, right? From the beginning, and calculate where your bottom is, where your top is, and keep in mind that you need some space for your date, and then divide it by 6 high. So while I've showed you 5 high, that's great for this month, but it's not going to work for those few months. So if you want your lines to be exactly the same so that you can basically borrow by making a little mark, you roll over here and say, oh, that's where I want this. If you don't want to do that and you want to just do the math, that's how you do the math. So when you get this all organized and you figure out what you've got going on, then it's time to put your lines in. So I always do my lines this direction first. If I need to, I will line this up and do it on the bottom here, and then I'll start working on the top and go through. I get all of those top ones in, and inevitably the easiest thing to do is to go too far and then have to start taking this off, because as we know, there's no Saturday on that march right here. So I've got my marks here, and what they are is 4 centimeters. So I've got 4 centimeters all the way through, and then it's just slightly off here. So I go 4 centimeters on Saturday, Friday, Thursday, and then I go 4 centimeters on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and whatever's left I do right here, because inevitably Wednesday is on the binding and it kind of gets the raw deal. So I try and work with it, give it a little extra space where I can. So that then means that I'm switching gears to this direction, but I've got my little nicks here that tell me when these should be. And so I'm going to go to whatever day is my end day and just draw that line down. And now I'm not in danger of accidentally filling a time slot here that I don't need to do. And I can just follow this down wherever I have it already set up. And just keep in mind that that's going to want to twist that. And you can actually kind of see through, because this is a clear ruler. It makes it easier to see what's going on. So I hope you're finding this fun and useful. When you do this, you're going to inevitably want to do more than just your calendar. So get yourself set up with whatever it is that you want to do with your calendar here, but then keep in mind that there are other things in life besides just a calendar. And so that would mean that we need to get ourselves ready for that other stuff. So I've got here a whole bunch of my Post-its. So I'm going to, this is how I get started. I'm just showing you the very start of how I get this all going. Excuse me. So March, April, May, and so forth. So this is June. Then we've got July. And August, September, October, November, and this is December. And so by putting these little tabs in to tell me what these things are, then I know that's where my calendar finishes, and I'm going to be working on those at certain points. And then I can switch to here and start thinking about like Bible reading. And then I might have in here, I know that will take me 2 pages, so I'll leave that. And then here I might say, you know, tell me below what it is that you would put in here. So I might do a habit tracker. If there is a particular habit that I really want to improve in my life, like I want to eat healthier or do exercise or sleep at certain times or whatever it is. I don't want to track habits for the sake of tracking habits, but if I think it's going to benefit me, then I can put a tracker in here. I can also put some goals and dreams, right? So I want to think about this and then come up with ideas. So what you want to do is go on to Google again or Pinterest and search images for bullet journal habit tracker, bullet journal dreams, bullet journal goals, bullet journal calendar layout. Start to get some ideas of designs if you want to add some creative flair to it. So once you get a month in here, then what you want to do is you use your pen. I'm going to use the same exact color for February. So what I'm going to do is I'm always going to drag toward myself. I'm not going to push the pen or do anything awkward. I'm just going to drag towards my body. And I'm actually dragging mostly my body, my arm sometimes as well. And I'm going to start on the left and work my way right because I don't want to be smudging into something that I've already started. So what you want to do is actually move this so that it's comfortable with you. And so for instance with this, then I'm going to start this and I'm noticing already that I'm not in the right direction. So I'm going to shift this for the next one. Just make it comfortable for your hand to stay steady and then use this to prop how far away you should be from your paper. So keep this steady and drag it rather than this being loose. And if I did this loose, what will actually happen is, I'll show you here on this one, for example, if I hold it steady and I just lean my hand in like this where I want it, then what I'm going to do is get a nice clean line, right? But if I hold this without putting my hand down where I want it and say I just kind of like give myself a little bit of guess as to how this goes, I'm going to go in and inevitably it's not going to be straight. If you like that look, then that is how to do it. Don't put your hand down, just drag. And so these are two ways that you can get two different looks. For me, I just like that really nice, clean, straight line. You have to tell me what you like. So when I get to a point where I have done these, see how fast and easy this is? It's just about planning out what your calendar looks like and which days go where. And then you know that you have it. And you don't put the pen on until you've confirmed this is day 1, that's day 28. Because once you put the pen on, there's no going back. You're going to have to paste another page on top of it or tear some pages out and reorganize, that sort of thing. So just plan what you're doing and then just switch gears and do this. So when you finish this, then it will be time to add the numbers in, which I've told you about. You've got those two options. So I'm just going to keep dragging right off the page there. And so I'm not going to do all that with you right here because you know what that looks like, right? So let's put some numbers in here. If you want to put some numbers in the corner, then just start writing the numbers in. But I will tell you from experience, the smartest thing you can do is keep this right here next to you and make sure that you are paying attention to what numbers you're doing. I am playing a little bit of a risk here by doing this right in front of you because there is a very good possibility that I could write the wrong number in because I'm paying attention to what is going on around me instead of right here. So this takes all your attention, all your focus. Don't do other things. And then you'll be much more likely to not make mistakes. So I'm going to use this pen, which is not very, it's not very bright. And I'm going to try it right at the back here and just do this so I can see. It's very faint, and I personally don't think that it's the right color. So that tells me that I need to try another one. So I'm going to grab another one. And let's see. So this is my other options. So this one is a dark cadmium yellow. That was a cadmium yellow. So let's see how this one looks. That's better. That's more visible. So I'm going to go with that one. And let's hope I put that on right. Okay, so not using that one or these. This is my option here. So this is my cobalt blue with my dark chrome yellow. And then what I'm going to do is keep an eye on this. So I'm just doing 1 through 7, and I'm just going to literally do this. But I need to keep in mind that however big I make this, I'm going to have to fit in 2 letters that are big. So I'm going to have to fit in like a 3 and a 0 at some point as I go along. So I want the size to match with all the other ones that I'm doing. So here I will just do a big 1 and a 2, knowing that I need to fit something next to it. And then when I go in to actually create my calendar and what I'm doing, I'm going to end up with stuff being sort of hovering over this and written over it, and that's okay. That's just part of the process. So this is literally how I get my calendar going and how I make decisions about what it is that I want to have. And I'm just going to plan out, and I use my sticky notes to just fill in certain spaces and get myself ready, figure out what kind of things that I want to do, and then I'll be prepared for when I want to add other things. I've got all this extra space, and the majority of what I needed is just right here for the whole year for me to keep referring to. If you've got like trips that you're going on and you need a little space for that, or you need any Dutch doors or extra things like that, you can learn about how to make Dutch doors, which are like half pages inside the Spiritual Life Journaling 101 course, which is kind of fun. I really like that. Those are like half pages, and so on it goes. If I get this and I stick around too long, it will bleed through a little bit here, but once this dries, it'll be fine. So once I'm done with this, I still have a date to write at the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to underpin this blue that I have, and I'm just going to put it right at the top here and say right here. I'm just going to go for it and not be perfect or precious about it, right, like that. And I can say January all big and long if I want, or just Jan. And now I am ready to get going with the first 2 weeks of my year, and I can add stuff into those, and I can engage with that, and I can get rid of my little 1 here in the corner because I'm ready for it. What this is doing is just giving me a blank slate, but I have all of this extra space here, and I might want some notes, but what I can do is I can actually just create a little box for myself right here. And that can be my notes box. So I can fill that perhaps with this yellow, and I've got myself a general idea of where I'm going with it, and I can fill it up with this. Then that gives me, 2 colors, a quick, easy thing here, and I can write in notes right on the edge so that I'm ready to go with taking notes. That's a fun thing to do with some of the blank space that you have. But with all this extra space, what I would suggest is pick a theme, one per year. If you want to pick ice cream, then every year or every month have a different flavor of ice cream. So one is going to be chocolate, and so all the colors are chocolate and cherry, and you've got some little cherries and some chocolate shavings in the corner that you've drawn. And then the next month you go in and it's all about strawberries and cream, and so there's some strawberries there, and then it's all ice cream for the entire year. This year I've moved to a seaside town. I'm overlooking the beach. It's absolutely stunning. And so I'm feeling inspired to do beachy scenes. Now, I did say I was getting practical here, so the likelihood of me doing all of this is a little bit limited. So I'm just going to, give myself somewhere to go with it. And as I have free time, then I'll kind of doodle on each of these pages. So I have a little bit of free space here specifically for this. And even if I were to have like a Saturday that filled this space, and maybe the notes weren't so high on some of these months where, you take in a little bit of extra space or not, whatever the situation is, you're always going to have a little bit of leeway somewhere around here. And so what I would do is go on to Google Images, onto Pinterest again, and especially when you're looking at this stuff, be careful that you don't copyright infringe. So don't infringe on copyright, but do come up with ideas. So in my instance, I might search for beach clip art, or for ocean clip art, or anything like that, sandy, whatever, palm tree clip art, whatever you can find. And then just start finding those things, some seashells and a beach sign and waves and any of these things, the sun, all of this kind of beachy, sunny feel. This can all make it into here. And so you might have the tree trunk showing up just right on the edge here, and then some palms coming out here. And you might have some beachy waves down here instead of the notes. Up here you might have the sun just peeking out through here. And so you can actually create these things just by adding a little bit of like clip art inspiration, and use it as an opportunity to try your hand at a little bit of design, and just search for clip art and use it as inspiration, but don't copy, be inspired. And then use your pencil and use your eraser to just say, not interested in that one. I'll try a different version of that, and just scrub it out and try again. So that's literally all you need to do. Just try your hand at some of these things. So what I'm going to do here is, I don't want any pencil marks, but I do want to actually have the sun showing up. So I'm just going to put the sun right here, and I want it to be very circular and not round. And then I'm just going to go back and forth like this. And then I've got myself a little sun there, and I can actually fill it or not if I want. But I can actually just, be a bit fun and playful with these things, play around with it, just have some fun, use it as a creative expression, but see how easy it is to make this very basic box like this start to turn into something that feels like it's got some life and is creative and fun and enjoyable to work with. And then what you want to do is, as you start to plan out your year, then what we want to do is we look at this here. So just so that I can make sure and get you to this point of actually putting stuff in, I'll add the rest of the days to this real quick here. So let's see, where are we? 15. So I'll just add 15 on here, and we'll be done here in just a minute with all of this. So 17 and 18, and you can see that we're starting to get a little bit bigger, 19 and 20, because these ones are wider. So keep that in mind. Here's 21, 22, that's one of our bigger ones. And so close to actually having all of these in, and then basically what you'll end up with is a starting ground for adding holidays and different dates like that. So we'll look at just this particular one. So I'm actually glancing down every couple of ones and seeing, does the day of the week line up? Am I doing this correctly? And I can see that I'm still on par. I'm not making any mistakes, so that's really good. After I had head injuries, I didn't do very good doing two things at once. I haven't particularly recovered from that since, so I keep a close watch on myself when I'm doing stuff like this, because it's very easy to get stuck with something that you didn't mean to write. Okay, and last, here is 31. Okay, so now that we've got all of this in, what you want to do is get your holidays in. And for this, I actually grab a separate color. I use a different color specifically for this purpose. So I'll grab a green. Let's see. I think this green might be kind of fun. This is leaf green. So let's have a look at this one. I'm trying it on this paper because this is the color of paper that I'm actually working with. And so this will just be my last one. My last page that I do these things on. Okay, so now I need to see what's going on with the holidays here. So everybody's doing New Year's Day, clearly. But it looks like everybody's also got January 2nd off through here. And this is because New Year's Day lands on a Sunday, so they give you Monday off. And then the next time there's some time off is in April, so that's not a big deal. But here, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on the 16th. And that's a big deal in America. So that's something that I'll pay attention to. But these countries don't have anything else. So then let's look at just doing the New Year's Day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count both of the January 1st and 2nd to be considered official holidays. And so what I'll do is I will just put a little box around that day, and that tells me that there's a national holiday. And then I usually typically write it right at the top of the day so that I can actually note to myself what that holiday is. But I can very quickly, at a glance, see this. So this was on the 16th of January right here. And then I know very quickly when I am looking at this. I also I work with my team in Asana, and that's a digital calendar, and so I always put these dates into the calendar on our digital calendar as well. But for me, looking at this, you can see it's not that obvious, but it's just enough for my eye to notice that, ooh, there's something different about that day. And then I will say here, Martin Luther, and that tells me what's going on. Okay, so that's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and then New Year. And this is only so that I can get the holidays in. this is New Year observed. So when I get these in, then I'm ready. I have my holidays, I have the days, I have a bit of fun, creativity there, but I need to actually fit my real life into this. So what I do is I might need a separate thing here inside of these dates here, these things here. I might actually create one. I can think of one right now that would be really useful. And that would be a daily routine. So that is something that I sometimes do. And this could just be something that's in pen, and then the pencil can be erased and changed as I go about my changes in the year, and it can give me some sort of function for how I do things every single day. So I don't need to, when I get in here, you can see I've got a little bit of shadowing through there, but that's fine. So I don't need to actually put what I'm doing with every single hour. But if I've got appointments that might move, I won't write them in here. What I will actually do is I use these post-it notes. They are like little flags. They have different colors, and these are really, really handy. I always have these every single time I find them. I buy them because they come in different colors, and then I color code them throughout the year. So if I'm doing a particular thing, I'll have it in one color and whatnot. So what I'll do is I'll get started, and let's use this blue because we're kind of going for a beachy feel. And what I'll have here is, let's say I'm going to get my hair done. Then I might say hair here, but that's massive. So I'm going to take this and cut it just like that. And what I want to actually put in here is I would usually put the time, so it would be like 11 a.m. And I would actually put that at the beginning of the day like this, because then I can put these further down. So I might have dinner with, which is a W with a hash, with so-and-so 6. Now I don't need to put PM because this is at the bottom of the day, so I already know what's going on. So I hope you're feeling like this is useful for you. It basically creates an environment where I can audition what I want to have happen throughout the month, and I can say, okay, there's some options here for different people to do different things with me, and I might have a meeting on here, and we might say there's a creative training. So this is our creative training. So I'm going to say 3 o'clock creative training. And then I can actually look at the big picture and start to see, this is another one for growth session. Now, don't quote me on these because I'm just giving you examples here. So when I do all of this, I actually look, especially when I'm doing live sessions, I think, okay, what days have I done these in the last couple of months so that we can give everybody a fair shot to show up at these things. And so I might say, actually, I can see that I've done that on a different day. Let's move that to here. And then this one, let's do this like, let's do over here. And then we know that this day is for this and that's for that, right? And you can also say, okay, blue is for personal and yellow is for work. Figure out something that makes sense for you personally. And then when you get this all settled in, then you've got yourself something that is ready for you, but it can be fluid because you can just say, actually, I know I need to move that, or that hair appointment doesn't work for me. I need to move that to here. And this dinner, let's see if they can do this night instead. Just work with what you've got and create a calendar for yourself that means that you make time for God. You make time for the things that He's called you to do, and you've actually put them in here. So if you are serving on, say, the prayer team at church on a Saturday, there's some like prayer that is offered, then you might be doing that, or the soup kitchen. So here's the soup kitchen. And we might have on here prayer. And you're going to put these in to your calendar just like everything else. And if you're really struggling with it, then just put in Bible reading on every single one of them if you need to, or put it straight on here. But by not actually writing on the calendar itself, you're going to find that you can move things around, you erase less, everything feels fluid, but then you need to be committed, show up and do this. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm going to leave you with that. And I would love, love, love to see examples of what you are creating as you do this. Include God in your world and get diving right in and creating. I will be sharing with you guys some of the spreads that I create, but literally they're just going to look very similar to what I'm showing you now. I hope you've enjoyed this. You take care and love you very much. You are so loved.